Pablo. He's an ordinary guy who likes ordinary things. Guns, women, drugs. Yes, that's right. We're talking Pablo Escobar, El Pablo, the daddy, leader of the Medellin cartel. Colombian drug lord, criminal legend. Plus, he has a moustache, so you know he's a big deal. Now meet Agent Steve Murphy. He's an American agent with the DEA who's been flown into Bogota to join the war on drugs and stop it coming to America. You know, like that Eddie Murphy film. No, wait. Murphy is partnered with Javier Pena. Both of them have moustaches, so you know they're a big deal. Murphy narrates the whole thing, so we see events from his point of view, which means we're sort of on his side. It also means we get loads of cool voiceover bits where he says things like, now Pablo had someone to fear, us.
How Pablo had someone to fear, us.
It turns out Pablo wasn't always in on the coke game. He was first of all a black market guy, moving trucks of booze and fags in Medellin, until he teamed up with Mateo Cockroach Moreno, who has this hip new drug all the cool kids are talking about. Warning kids, drugs aren't cool. A few super labs later and they're shipping bricks out to Miami, and by bricks I mean drugs. At which point, Murphy rocks up. After all, 50 grand a kilo, that's a lot of moolah a year, baby. 5 billion moolah to be exact. Pablo hides the money in a taxi company business, and hires an accountant called Blackbeard. When your accountant is called Blackbeard, you know you've made it. Escobar, though, is busy dealing with M19, a revolutionary group who make E17 look like a boy band from the 90s. Teaming up with a group called Death to Kidnappers, he essentially forms the Medellin cartel there and then. Oh, and kills all of M19 to death. Shit just got real. Speaking of which, meet Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha, leader of the Medellin cartel. At one point, he kills a dog. No one really knows why, but he doesn't have a moustache. Fuck him. Pablo, meanwhile, is getting all political with the help of journalist Valeria. No moustache. Pablo automatically wins the public's affection by spending money on schools and hospitals and housing. He also risks losing his wife's affection by having an affair with Valeria. Cal surprise. Escobar runs for Congress as an alternate running mate to a man called Ortega, who then steps aside the moment they win. Poor Ortega. Pablo bribes the justice minister to be on their side too, just to make things legit. Then they look at some hippos. Lara, though, is a congressman who won't stand for it and tries to expose Pablo for being a drug lord. All this after Pablo goes to the effort of wearing a tie just so he can get in the government building. Needless to say, Lara refuses the advice of Murphy to wear a bulletproof vest and ends up being killed to death. On the plus side, you don't have to worry about who this Lara guy is anymore. His position of idealistic political nemesis is filled by Luis Galan, who does take the DA's advice and wears a bulletproof vest. He gets shot and killed to death anyway, so you don't have to worry who Galan is either. That's Pablo's cue to return to the country with his wife after going into exile because of the first time he murdered a politician. That's politics, folks. I'll die before I leave Colombia again, he says. Spoiler alert, people. Following on from Lara in the role of the person who is guaranteed to die horribly regardless of whether they're wearing a vest is Caesar, who automatically wins the election and becomes president. Pablo is scared because Caesar is not afraid of him. The response is simple. All-out war. Now, remember Gacha, the dog-killing dude without the moustache? It turns out he has a son called Freddy. Freddy is a douche. The DEA get a tip on Gacha and Freddy's location, so they move to take him out, with the military led by Colonel Garrillo, who is struggling because his army is full of corrupt people. Murphy shoots Gacha, killing him to death. So you don't have to worry about who Gacha or Freddy are anymore. Good riddance. Speaking of corrupt people, Pablo's getting a bit nervous. Pablo's other right-hand man is Gustavo, so he interrogates him under threat of dynamite to the face, as you do. But Gustavo promises he's loyal. Escobar, meanwhile, just to prove how evil he is, hires a kid to take a bomb on a plane and kill Caesar. Luckily, Murphy tells him not to get on board, and so Pablo pays his men to kill the bomber's wife and daughter and cover his tracks. Did you do something wrong? Asks Pablo's young son as he goes into hiding. Your dad did nothing wrong, says Pablo. Sorry, son, but your dad is a lying cock. Speaking of liars, let's talk about Pena, who's having an affair with M19 informant Eliza, until the CIA threatened to charge him with treason for protecting a communist. So Pena convinces the DEA secretary to forge some documents so Eliza can leave the country safely, which means you can forget about who the hell Eliza is, on top of all the other people who no longer matter. Pablo's men, meanwhile, try to assassinate Carrillo, which doesn't work. Carrillo's bosses reward him with a new crack squad of trustworthy, incorruptible men, Search Block, which is also the title of their first indie rock album. At this point, we're only halfway through Season 1, and we've already had at least several dead politicians, one plane crash, 2 murdered pets, and a lot of sex. What we haven't had for a while is a hostage situation, so Pablo kills Diana, a journalist with better ratings than Valeria. Carrillo tries to rescue Diana and ends up killing her to death by accident. Nice one, Carrillo, you idiot. Under pressure, the president decides to negotiate and strike a deal with Pablo. Pablo agrees to go to jail, but only if he can build the jail himself, and the DEA promise to stop investigating him. Oh, and no police are allowed to go within 2 miles of it. Pablo calls his jail the Catedral, which is Spanish for party time, homies. Pablo breaks up with Valeria, who then gives away his location to Pablo's rivals, the Cali Gang. The Hooli Gang? The Cali Gang. They're led by Pacho Herrera. He has a moustache, so you know he's a big deal. He's such a big deal that he tries to blow up Pablo with a bomb. His daughter Manuela ends up deaf in one ear as a result. Poor Manuela. But Pablo, Pablo's wife, and Pablo's moustache are unharmed. Carrillo, though, isn't fine. He captures Gustavo and then lets him be killed by angry citizens. Killed to death. So you can add Gustavo to the list of people you never have to think about again. In retaliation, Pablo's men try to kill Pacho. He gets away, but they do kill 14 Cali men. That's a lot of men. Let's be clear, the body count for Narcos is higher than most action movies. We hear Bruce Willis showed this series to Haley Joel Osment, which only left the poor boy traumatised. Okay, hands up if you think prison's tough. Not if you're Pablo Escobar. His jail makes Orange is the New Black look like Only Fools and Horses. If Only Fools and Horses was set in a prison, and everyone was doing drugs. He's having the time of his life, with no one to tell him what to do. No one even tells him to stop wearing this stupid hat. The only problem, Pablo's money is being taken by other people. How? Well, back in the day, he buried his money in the ground in the Medellin area. The space under his mattress was presumably full. 2 of his men accidentally find some of it, so Pablo kills them both to death. By now, you basically don't have to worry about anyone in this TV series apart from Pablo, Murphy, and Pena, because the others are all dead or likely to be dead very soon. Speaking of Murphy and Pena, our boys in blue are closing in and get a camera planted in one of Pablo's trucks that proves illegal stuff is happening. When news of those dead bodies spreads as well, and Pablo kidnaps the Vice Minister of Justice, the authorities raid the prison. Murphy is also kidnapped, but this is by the Cali Gang, who let him go in the hope that Murphy will repay the favour further down the line. The Minister of Justice is also set free. But you know who else gets free? That's right, Pablo Escobar. And so the stage is set for Season 2, which is essentially a game of cat and mouse, one where both the cat and the mouse have killer moustaches. So, in summary, there's a drug lord called Pablo, and there are some DEA agents called Murphy and Pena trying to catch him. That's basically all you need to know ahead of Narcos Season 2, which means this entire video is a waste of time. At least I got some free coke out of it. Oh, mama.